how are you? Mid-Guardian Workshop. There's something I wanted to talk about next on this video, and I'm going to be running off these notes because there's a lot, and I'm going to try and get through it as best I can. First thing first, this video is definitely not going to be for the younger ones. You know, I'm not telling you how to raise your kids, but some of the things that I'm going to talk about are probably not child conversations you want to be having right now. Now, you decide that it's a different way around and you want them to hear these things, then that's completely on you. And but keep that in mind. I'm trying to tell you ahead of time that and I may lose some people that what little I do have that are watching my videos, but this is definitely something I've been wanting to talk about, mostly just because I think it's pretty important. And so we're going to get right after it. There's a lot to cover. I'm going to try not to split this video up too much. I don't know if I want to do 10, 12-minute videos. If that's all people want to pay attention to and learn the world, then learn it somewhere else. So we're going to get after it. Okay, so the first part of this video is SHTF. Most of you know what that is. It also ties into bushcrafting, and really these are just my thoughts on really a pretty big thing that's going around YouTube. You know, it has been forever, prepping, etc. I find, you know, bushcrafting's part of that. You're trying to learn things to do while you're, you know, out in the woods somewhere with little or nothing. And that's kind of what started my whole thinking process on what I was going to talk about with this. So we're going to get after it, and hopefully this doesn't get to be too long. So here's the reality of it. How bad you want to live? You know, first things you got to think about is if it should ever come to light, the SHTF, something really bad happening where, you know, your life is all turned upside down, and you got to look at, you know, what kind of turmoil is it, because it's such a broad spectrum of, you know, what that scenario could be. So for me, the second thing I'm going to think about is time. How much time? Am I looking at a short-term problem, a long-term problem? That's going to be a critical part of thinking for anybody is, you know, what kind of time frame am I working with here? Now, a short-time problem, who knows what that could be? The power's out because they blew up a transformer, you know, that sort of thing. Most people can get past those problems. However, if you're bugging in, bugging out, you know, it opens up so many parts and pieces of the things that not a lot of people seem to want to talk about. You know, the normal things: water, food, shelter. You know, are you okay where you're at? Then you have long term, you know, bug in, bug out. You still got water, food, shelter, you know, resources, family, friends, you know, hordes, protection. You know, really trying to break this down into what these scenarios are going to be, and they're all going to be so variable depending on what it is. If it's EMT and there's no power, you know, that's going to be a real big one. That one's going to be probably one of the ugliest things that could happen to our world. Of course, nuclear, and, you know, whether that would ever come to light, I'm not the Kreskin. I don't know, you know, what it's going to be. Few do, if any, I think. Here for me is, you know, one of the big ones. Food. You ever been hungry? No, I mean really hungry. You haven't eaten 3-4 days, zero, nothing. And I'm not saying because you're fasting. I'm saying because you have no resources and you're hungry. Have you had to do that for a few weeks at a time? You're 3 weeks out in a scenario and you've eaten twice in 3 weeks. Let me tell you, that makes a difference. And some people don't have a freaking clue what being hungry is. I've been hungry. And it's one of the hardest things to deal with anybody should ever have to deal with. I can tell you after a few weeks of doing that sort of thing, lots of things that you didn't think were edible become appetizing. When your stomach is trying to eat a hole through your spine because you really haven't had something to eat, I'm telling you, at some point, you're going to have to look at the reality of, well, you know, can I eat that? Most people don't know what that is. They just don't. And, you know, I'm not saying everybody has to have the same view I have, but some of us that have been hungry, and either, you know, by our own means or not, it sucks. It sucks bad. And your mind starts to play some pretty funny things on you when you're doing all you can to change that situation and it's not happening fast enough, but you're still hungry. And so that's what I mean by some people just don't know hungry. And I'm not saying, you know, I'm better because I have, or anybody else is better because they've been hungry. They understand the world differently. But in these kind of situations, it is going to be an issue. Now, I've also heard some people say, oh, I'll die before I eat that. No, you won't. You will eat it at some point, and you'll fight tooth and nail for the bone and hope to get it and be thankful you got it. That's the real end of being hungry. At some point, that's where you'll go. Now, some people will still say, yeah, you're all wet, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, if you even make it that far and whatever turmoil is creating havoc in the world, and you're actually there 3-4 weeks in, you've eaten a couple 3 times, and if you've seen this video, you might go, you know, that guy had a point. Hey, now, for me, when I hear long-term, short-term, I think that's kind of susceptible, I guess. Either way, you've got 4 or 5 days, and I really say 3.5 to the 4 side of having water. You can do without some food, but you've got to have water. And, you know, lots of studies say you got to have at least 2 quarts a day. I've been thin on water before, and do I think you have to have all that? No, but when you've got a chance to have more, you will, you know, that's for sure. And you'll try to make up for when you didn't have it as much. But really, there is no long term past 4 or 5 days if you don't have water. Clean water. Water that's not going to make you sick. Whether it have contamination in it, etc. That's really the forefront of almost anything, depending on the weather and temperature and, you know, what you happen to have on your back and so on. So, and then you just got to think about this as well. So, just to survive you need 2 liters of water. Now in your world, you may have 3, 4 people, some animals that are in your world. They all need water too. So where are you getting it from? To me, that's one of the first biggest things anybody should be thinking about in any of these situations, especially power down. Because if you have a well, or if you're on city power, guess what? That shit don't jump out of the hole. It's got to be pumped with electricity. Now where I live, we just had to redo our well. It's down 510 feet, and I have yet to find a hand pump that will suck that far. So, you know, if your well's 30, 40 feet deep, hey, you're in good luck. But lots of the rest of us that have really deep wells just to get to the freaking water, it's a little different situation. And I've worked on mine, but it's something you're going to have to think about and work on. Because you may have a well full of water. But when it's at those depths, how you going to get it out of there, smart guy? You know? So it's really important to think about that sort of thing. And who's to say something hasn't happened that's tainted? You can't filter it properly, you know. To me, pretty important things. So, you know, you think, okay, I'm going to bug in. Do you have power? Do you have heat? What's your security like? What's your population? Are you living around 80, 90, more, 1,000 of population in little, you know, communities? You just going to board up your windows? You got bars on your windows. Okay? That's awesome. Well, behind those bars is glass. And if you're boarding up your windows with wood, guess what? That shit burns. So all you got to do is set fire to it and hit it with an axe. You're in. So how well is your hiding now? Live in a hot and cold climate? After they bust those windows out or burn them out and that cold air starts coming in because you don't have no power, you ain't got no heater running. With the windows out, you can't really be running into the front room and stoking your wood stove while, you know, whoever's trying to get in those windows. So, you know, these are all real things to think about here, folks. Family, friends. Hordes will come if it's that bad at some point. As soon as one little thing happens in your big cities, every stained creature that walks on 2 legs is busting out a window and stealing shit that ain't theirs. When it gets thinner, do you think they're going to care whether you're in there or not? They're going to come take your shit too. And if they can't get you out, they just burn you out. All they got to do is throw some shit in there that smokes. Eventually, you ain't going to be breathing, so they just wait for it to clear out and walk in and take what's left. You know, and somebody mentioned to me, well, then they ain't going to get nothing. Doesn't matter, they didn't have nothing when they got there, so whatever's left, guess what? That's theirs now. Now, so you're bugging in. Who's to say, maybe they know you got nothing, but maybe they want you for whatever things they want to do with you. Keep that in mind. So you're going to bug out. How far are you going to get? What's your transportation? Think about everyone else that's trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to get out of that rat's nest of a shitty situation around them cities too. They're going to run out of fuel? They're going to crash into something, block the road, you can't get around it? Now you're walking. Or you're crashing into that shit, trying to get it open to get 2 miles down the road to find the same thing. Now you're going to crash into that one too, get that open. Not to mention, they might have that blocked and a few other buddies with them trying to see what you got as you're coming out. You know, there's going to be all these people trying to leave these places, headed to their families, to their bug out locations. You really think those roadways going to be safe sailing? I think again, do you know another way out from where you are to where you need to get? Can you do that without a car? How far is it? You know, these are the real pieces, you know, people should be thinking about. So, and I got to tell you, I got my own friends in this next boat. So, I'm absolutely not sticking my fingers at anybody with any of this that I'm talking about. I'm trying to help. If you can find something out of what I'm saying, important at all, then great. If you're not, just turn it off. But I got a lot of friends. I've got some myself. So you got lots of guns, ammo, firearms. Yeah, so's everybody else. You gonna shoot them all, are you? How many of those GUNs can you carry at one time? And the ammo, instead of food or water. Get your whole family packing them? Hell, strap some to the dog. Think it's going to be easier to get to it? Just kind of makes me crazy. And here's a little point. So let's just say you got 10 guns on you and 1,000 rounds of ammunition. At some point, you're going to have to reload. That means you're going to have to stop doing what you're doing, drop all that crap, and start reloading some of them. Now, hopefully you're in a pretty good spot, but I can almost guarantee you, maybe at some point, that's when they get you. Is when you're reloading to kill some more. Keep killing them. But you got to stop at some point and reload. It's not infinite bullets like on TV. And here's another thought. There's always bigger guns. Always. At some point, there will always be bigger guns or somebody with more of them. Then you bring into the whole light of this situation dynamite, C4, tannerite. You don't know what tannerite is? Well, I guarantee you, if you ever get to play with it, you'll know after this. And it's pretty easy to get a hold of. And a few cans of it stacked up in front of a door, it don't take a very large gun to set it off, and it will blow down most doors, probably most walls. Enough for somebody to get through it, I'll bet you. And then you got homemade explosives on top of it. You know, masters of chemistry. What's that going to look like to you? While you're sitting killing everybody? You're going to sleep sometime. You can't stay up for, days unless you're chemically activated yourself. And then eventually you might run out of that stuff, and then they still got a chance. So, I've got all the guns and ammunition to kill the world. Great. That's awesome. Glad you do. You spent all them thousands of dollars on all them fancy guns and all that ammunition, but you spent $12 on your water system and $100 on your food supply. How smart are you really? Why don't you, take your teeth and bite the end of that bullet off and, start eating that gunpowder. See how that, will keep you healthy for how long. Start chewing on that barrel, Oh, well, maybe get you a wood gun. You can chew on that. There's some fiber in it. Here's my point. You got all them rounds of ammunition, all that money you spent, and you will melt a gun down before you ever get a shoot at all. Either they get you, The gun's so damn hot it won't fire no more. Take your pick. And while you're out there killing everybody to exist, you're not living, you're just trying to exist. Can you live with yourself? All them people you're killing? So, I know that this whole thing I'm talking about lets most narcissistic people out of it because they don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. So none of this is going to make any sense to them because they're going to fend for themselves and kill everybody, and they're probably the ones that are going to take over the world. So, you know, their conscience is so small it passes through a Cheerio and doesn't scrub a grain. So, but here's the truth of it. When you're killing the world, saving what little you have for yourself and your family, and Susie, Mikey, your daughters, school friend, neighbor kid, what have you. That you watched them grow. They've been to your house, you've been to their house, birthday parties, etc. You got something, you know, some time and relationship in these kids. Now, they're in front of your firearm. You going to end them as you're looking down the sight? You going to put that bullet in their head, in their body? Without any remorse for what action you're going to commit. You're just going to do it. What if it's your daughter or your son? Now, how many Susies, Mikeys can you kill? You're going to end them. Protecting yours. And how many of those do you just finally, just from the weight of it, decide to turn that firearm on yourself? Because you can't live with it anymore. All the rest of them you've already ended or gone. All those numbers are counted up in your book somewhere, and they're back behind you, and you just can't live with that thought anymore. Because you've been, you know, wearing the trigger out on your gun, killing everybody for the rest of the world, and, you know, for yourself and your family. Now some people, that's pretty easy. They just keep going, and, you know, whatever. We see those people driving their cars and their trucks every day and don't think a thing about them. They're out there. But is that you? Can you do it? What if Susie or Mikey is a ruse to get you to open your door? You look through the little peephole and you see them, but you don't see the ones, you know, that came creeping into the neighborhood that caught one of them and has them in front of your little peeper window and want to be let in. And once you do, the real reason they're there is now going to come through. What are you going to do then? Right? Because if you're lucky and you can pull Susie in and not get it hurt, her or him hurt, as you're trying to get to the ones that are trying to get at you or get the door shut again, you know, this is the real end of this stuff, folks. This is what's real. When you start, you know, playing all these videos and trying to learn about these things, this is the real end of it. How about Uncle Tom or Aunt Carol and their kids and family? They want to come in. You're almost out of supplies. Your family's already starving. But they've made it from wherever they live to your house. They got nothing. They got nothing to contribute. Oh, well, they could hold a gun, so maybe that's their contribution. But now you just went from 3 months to live with what you've got inside your house to a month and a half to feed Tom, Carol, and their kids. What's your choices going to be then? Because there's going to have to be some. Are you going to be one of those people that think, oh well, Tom and Carol here, we almost got a gang ourselves, so we'll just go out and start stealing it from other people in the same situation I'm in. We'll start burning them out, stealing their shit they work for, and put away, trying to prepare their family and take care of themselves, and now you're the carrion feeding on them. Is that your plan? You gonna gang together and start pirating people? Is that in your nature? Can you do it? You gonna live without a conscience and live like an animal? You better than that? I can guarantee you when resources get thin, somebody might just look at you and go, oh, well, you know, you might be turning too. Are you going to tell yourself it's okay because you're still alive? It's okay for you to take and hurt and do the nasty things humanity does to each other just because you're still alive and you're going to survive? So no matter what, you're taking care of you, and anything you do don't matter, right? Is that you? What's your excuse going to be? What's that excuse going to be to push you into being that way? I'm sure there's one somewhere. At some point. You going to be a sperm bank, male or female, for a militia? Is that going to be your new job? 2 ounces of water, half a cracker a day, for all you can guzzle? You know what I mean by that? Or all you can take? Because that's your new job? You don't have any other skills? Maybe you can do that job for a while. Move up to 6 ounces of water and 4 raisins. For murdering and chopping people up, because that's a harder job. So they pay more for that. What's your price? You got one? I bet you everybody does. Just going to do yourself in. I like this thought. Because to me, that's about the most chicken shit thing I've ever heard anybody say. Now, if you're by yourself, you got no responsibility to anybody else, and you're more afraid of what they'll do to you, then do it. Just do it. I think that's wrong, and you shouldn't, and you should find some help if that's what you're thinking. But, hey, if you have somebody relying on you that can't help themselves, and you do that sort of thing anyway, sorry for you. Sorry for you. So, what's the next step? You do them first? So, fool yourself into think you can hide in your house. And the savages won't come. And you can kill them all. Let me give you a little important information. Humans are eaters. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. Only other things keep them and have kept them from history from doing just that to everything. Humans eat the planet. Eventually. We get it all. Eat it all till it's gone, worry about when it's gone later. Steal it off of somebody else that did the work to save it.